Hello, my name is Sonali and I welcome you all to this week's Sunday special episode of Around the World in 7 Days. Today, even though the relations between India and China have become so sore that the armies of both the countries are face to face on the border, every day there are reports of conflict in the Galvan Valley, and sometimes the skirmishes at Pangong Lake make headlines. But there was a time when there was a very deep friendship between the two countries. The roots of this friendship can be seen in thousands of years old history. If we put in simple words, before the conflict of 1962, there were strong economic, religious and cultural relations between the two countries for about 2000 years. There are evidence that ideological and linguistic exchanges existed between the Shang-Zhou civilization of China and the Vedic civilization of India between 1500 and 1000 BCE. By the 2nd century BC, the southern branch of the Silk Road connected the city of Xi'an in China and the city of Patliputra in India. During the 1st, 2nd and 3rd centuries, many Buddhist pilgrims and scholars travelled to China along this historic Silk Road. Kashyap Mathang and Dharmaratna made the White Horse Monastery in Luoyang, China their residence. Ancient monk scholars such as Kumar Rajiv, Bodhidharma and Dharmakshema contributed to the spread of Buddhism in China. Similarly, Chinese pilgrims also made visits to India. Among these, the names of Chinese travelers like Huan-Sang, Sang-Yun, Fa-Hen, Itzing and Zhuan-Zhang are most famous. These age-old relationships continued till the modern times. Later on, both the countries become victims of imperialist exploitation. After getting rid of this, both of them started trying to keep the imperialist powers out of Asia. Apart from this, after the formation of the People's Republic of China, India gave it the highest priority. The situation was that India was advocating the People's Republic of China by going to global forums. In return, the Chinese leaders were colluding with the Indian leaders. The leaders of both the countries were visiting each other. Such was the friendship that a full decade before China conducted its nuclear test in September 1964, Chinese leader Mao Zedong shared important information with the then Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. He had told Prime Minister Nehru that China had intended to make an atomic bomb. This was such information which intelligence agencies around the world were trying hard to know. But Mao Zedong casually mentions it in conversation with Nehru. This shows how strong the relationship was between the two countries. But who knew that one day these relations would turn sour? Both countries will not be able to trust each other. Now, you would like to know the full story of the deteriorating relations between India and China. You would like to know what were the reasons due to which friendship turned into enmity. We will answer all these questions, but first let us know a little more about the journey of friendship between India and China. So on 15th August 1947, India becomes independent. On the other hand, the Communist Party of China captured the power in January 1948 by showing the way out to the Nationalist Party. Communist Party leader Mao Zedong declares the country as the People's Republic of China. That is what is known as China today. Since Jawaharlal Nehru, one of the prominent leaders of the movement before India's independence, always emphasized on Sino-Indian friendship. Also, many leaders of India had a liberal attitude towards communism. So when the communists gained power in China, it was widely welcomed in India. Not only this, India went a step ahead and became the first non-communist country to recognize the People's Republic of China in December 1949. Further, India was also the first non-communist country to establish diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China in April 1950. Basically, Indian policy towards China was based on several assumptions. First of all, there have been strong cultural and economic ties between the two countries since the Indus civilization, as we have already mentioned. Second, the Chinese, like Indians, have long borne the brunt of foreign imperialism. When the Chinese were invaded by Japan, Indians had a feeling of sympathy and respect for the Chinese people. The third view was that since the Chinese countries, the Indian leadership believed that China would continue to maintain good relations with India. Underpinning these relations was the deep sympathy the Indian leadership, including Jawaharlal Nehru and his most trusted defense minister V. Krishna Menon, had for China's communist movement. This leadership believed that India-China friendship is the core of the non-aligned policy. Therefore, India openly supported China on many issues during that period. It can be understood from this that India did not participate in the International Peace Treaty Conference with Japan held in San Francisco in the year 1949. This is because China was not invited in this. About 49 countries participated in this conference. Similarly, India supported China in the Korean War bypassing the US. In this case, in the year 1952, India had also opposed the proposal declaring China as an aggressive country in the United Nations. Relations between the two countries had become friendly to such an extent that Mao Zedong had said, if World War III breaks out, neither can completely submerge China or India. Well, in June 1954, India and China together signed a treaty. In this, the first formal codification of Panchsheel principles was done. Actually, under the Panchsheel principle, mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and cooperation and peaceful cooperation were included. In the very next month, that is in July 1954, the Indian Prime Minister writes a memorandum directing the amendment of the map to show the definite boundary of India. In fact, about 1,20,000 square kilometers of Indian territory was shown as a part of China on the Chinese map. However, when China is asked a question on this, Chinese Prime Minister Zhou Enlai replies that there was a mistake in that map. From here begins the real story of the weakening of the relationship between the two countries. After this, in the year 1955, Nehru and Zhou meet during the Afro-Asian Conference in Bandung, Indonesia. Here, Zhou made a tremendous impact on other countries of Asia with his words. In fact, Zhou had set out to make new friends in Asia. His search was fulfilled in the form of Pakistan. This was the conference from where the slogan of Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai started fading away. In Bandung, Pakistan's Prime Minister Muhammad Ali Bogra assured Zhou that Pakistan's membership of US alliances was to secure its interest vis-a-vis India and not against China. At the same time, he will not support any aggressive action by America against China. In this sequence, as soon as Sino-Pak relations reached a positive phase, the distance between India and China started increasing. Soon after this, unrest spread in Tibet at the beginning of the Tibetan Insurgency in 1959. Fearing for their lives, Buddhist Guru the Dalai Lama and his followers fled to India. The tension between the two countries escalated when Mao said that the Lhasa rebellion in Tibet was caused by India. In this way, the Chinese perception of India as a threat to China's rule over Tibet became a major reason for the enmity between the two countries. This culminated into military conflict between India and China in 1962. On 10 July 1962, around 350 soldiers surrounded the Indian post at Chushul in Ladakh. They then used loudspeakers to convince the Gurkhas that they should not fight for India. And finally, on October 20, 1962, the result of the tension between India and China comes to the fore in the form of war. Thus, the friendship of the two emerging superpowers of the 21st century turned into enmity. The thousands-year-old relationship between the two Asian giants collapsed. However, bilateral relations between the two countries were restored again in the 1980s. In 1993, during the visit of Indian Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, an agreement was reached to maintain peace along the line of actual control on the India-China border. As a result, today China is India's largest trading partner. Yet China always shows its might on various issues ranging from its claim on the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh to building military bases in India's neighboring countries. There is also a fact that both the countries are competing to become the undisputed superpower of Asia. This is the reason why they are suspicious of each other's intentions. China is trying to capture the sea of this region. At the same time, China always supports Pakistan against India, due to which India is not happy. Here, India still allows Tibetan refugees to come here, which angers China. Meanwhile, America is putting India in its court against China. In such a situation, both the countries are neither trusting each other nor their relations are getting stronger. Now it is the turn of this program's Sunday special segment, in which we will delve into other significant international news. Recently, the US approved the sale of military equipment worth about $500 million to Taiwan. The sale includes support for infrared search and track systems, F-16 fighter jets and munitions. Negotiations are currently underway with Lockheed Martin for the sale of these equipment, but the final agreement has not been signed yet. However, it is expected to be completed soon. Let us tell you that a few days ago, America also approved military assistance of $345 million for Taiwan. In such a situation, this announcement has once again increased the chances of an undeclared war between China and America. In the recent BRICS summit held in Johannesburg, India and Brazil have given their consent for BRICS expansion. China, Russia and South Africa were already in support of this expansion. In such a situation, it is believed that BRICS will soon take a big expansion beyond the scope of 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. At the conference, South Africa said that more than 40 countries of the Global South have shown interest in joining BRICS, while more than 20 countries have made formal requests to join. Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Iran, Argentina, Egypt, etc. are the countries which have shown interest in joining BRICS. The inclusion of these countries will increase the recognition of BRICS at the global level. Let us tell you that at present the BRICS member countries represent about 40% of the world's population and 25% of the global economy. 2 weeks after Chinese Coast Guard ships blocked the Philippine Navy's supply to its military unit stationed in Sierra Madre, the Philippines has succeeded in getting supplies there. Let us tell you that on August 5, China intercepted a supply boat chartered by Philippines Navy around the second Thomas Shoal and also attacked it with water cannons. After this, the tension between the Philippines and China had increased, on which many countries, including America, had also warned China. At the same time, the Philippines also summoned the Chinese ambassador. The Sierra Madre Second Thomas Shoal lies within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, but China considers it part of the 9-dash line. So that's all in this discussion. See you in the next episode. But before leaving, let's note down a practice question based on today's coverage. Comment briefly on the historical reasons for the deteriorating relations between India and China.